Is this you? And whenever you try to improve at the game and ask somebody how to play Menace, they tell you, actually, their last game was way harder. Oh yeah, I totally get it. So this video is for all my Menace enjoyers that still struggle with the game mechanics, and of course you, the veteran, that's ready to type in the comments about how, actually insert whatever quote you wanna say. How about you take a break from telling people that this game is the easiest one and see this video in hopes that you can actually show something to the casual players in hopes that they understand the game better. You see, in this video I'm gonna put myself in your shoes, the average player, and go into a step-by-step guide on what characters to choose in the beginning, what are some of the best early strategies, how to choose the best weapons, and of course explain the most important mechanics to you. And without further ado, burger!
I'm legally blind.
You already know the beginning, the ship jumped and all high command met a very unfortunate end. So sad. Well, not for you, but right after the cutscene you will be shown these 8 squad leaders, 5 of them are infantry leaders and 3 of them are vehicle operators. So how do you choose the best squad leader? Well, that's simple, you look at the stats and the attributes. Of course, some of them are quite clear, like the action points and the hit points, while others like discipline and positioning aren't that clear, so I'll explain all the stats. Action points. Everything a character does requires action points. Moving, action points. Shooting, action points. Leaving your wife for a woman called Consuela, the maid you told her not to worry about, action points. Accuracy. This stat determines the chance to hit a target without other modifiers like distance or cover, but depending on the weapon, some of them will be less effective at a distance, while others become way more effective at a distance. Of course, there's also the weapon that become way more effective up close. Discipline. This stat is simple. Your troops' discipline will affect the amount of suppression they receive from an attack, or will affect how easily their morale will break or how easily they flee. Overall, discipline will decide if you have a bunch of raving monkeys or if you have some of that good old-fashioned American fighting spirit. Damage reduction. This stat determines how much damage does a unit receive from the overall shots they get, but that can work against you, as with some troops, especially some of them soft ones, they will have negative damage reduction. Yes, they take amplified damage. How do you solve this? You make them build an immunity to it. I, for example, only wake up Karda by shooting her in the legs with a 9mm bullet. Hit points, that's a unit's health bar. So for example, each unit in Karda's squad should have 8 HP. Critical hit chance. The critical hit chance is calculated as follows. Let's say you have a 5% chance to deal critical damage. Well, that chance is applied as 5% for each element or projectile depending on the type of weapon the character uses. Defense. This one subtracts from the enemy's accuracy while they shoot at the specific target. The higher your defense, the bigger the accuracy loss for the enemy. We're gonna be moving on to attributes. Agility. This attribute determines how many action points does your unit get. So if you have 100 agility, that unit should have somewhere around 120 action points. Yes, this stat can be leveled up on any unit and we'll talk about how to do that in just a moment. Weapon skill. This attribute determines the base accuracy the unit will have while using a weapon skill. For example, these 2 attacks, these 2 are considered weapon skills, and depending on the specific skill and of course your character's proficiency in those skills, they will have a better accuracy. Valor determines the unit's discipline, so this attribute will allow you to raise your leader's discipline just like agility does with action points. Vitality will determine the hit points of a unit, or as the game calls it, per element. You see, in this situation the game calls them elements instead of squaddies, so if Darby's squad is 9 people, let's say, the game will see it as 9 elements, so the whole sum of HP your squad has is actually the total sum of each troop having, let's say, 9 HP, adding to a 81 HP. Of course, raising vitality will also raise the hit points. Precision. This is supposed to be the critical hit chance of an individual unit. I don't know how this is calculated, but as per usual, the higher the number the better. For example, Darby's default self has 5% critical hit chance with 20 precision, while my Darby on a higher level save file has 11 critical hit chance and 47 precision. And last attribute, positioning, determines the defense value of a unit, so the higher the number the better to reduce the accuracy of incoming attacks. But Greg, how are we supposed to level up all these skills? That's simple. Now we are getting into the most important stats, with the first being growth potential. You see, growth potential is a stat that's based on chance. Let's say you have 10 growth potential. Well, that's actually 10% growth potential, so you're gonna gamble each time you make an action. That's associated to a skill. For example, if you shoot at a filthy pirate and that action is successful, and of course the enemy units die, well, congratulations my friend. You have a 10% chance to increase your skill and accuracy. So basically, the higher the growth potential, the bigger the chance for your character to get better stats after a mission. Supply cost. This is calculated as follows. A squad leader with 3 stars will cost 30 supplies to deploy, and their squaddies will cost somewhere around 16 supplies per member. Just to give you the stats here, by the way, this is from the official wiki. You see, someone like Jane will have 221 supply cost with the default rifle, while somebody like Carda will have 95 supply cost with the default rifle and a full squad. This difference is due to how the game sees them. The supply cost is tied to this specific squad leader level stat. The main difference in this situation is basically the beginning stats. While both have the same growth potential, Carda is 100% weaker in the beginning than Jane. Promotion cost factor. This stat is a multiplier that affects the number of points required for a promotion. Use this chart here if you really want to know how this works. It's the same system as before. Lower star leaders get less cost, while higher star leaders get more cost.
Here you are all equally worthless, and my orders are to weed out all non-hackers who do not pack the gear to serve in my beloved corps.
Now that you know what each and every stat does, which of the beginning 8 characters will you choose? First ones are the drivers. You get to choose between Achilles, Reva, and Bog. Achilles can be turned into a literal tank due to his first Spartan duty skill that raises his action points the more damage he takes, and Shield Wall that you will be able to pick up in the future that will only allow him to take damage up to 33% of his hit points from any attack, so any attack that should destroy your vehicle will allow Achilles to stay in the fight. As I mentioned in another video, he's the angry bear. The more you hit him, the angrier he gets, and the more he hits you. Rewa can be turned into a sort of vehicle berserker with her main perk of Revel in the Slaughter that will allow her to get 6% accuracy and discipline for each kill, stacking up to a total of 5. Yes, that's gonna add up to a nice 30% accuracy and discipline for 5 kills. Combine that with the berserker perk that refunds 30 AP per enemy killed. All that will turn her into a still hunter of the way back. Last but not least is going to be Bogue. He's an option that's cheaper than the other two. He focuses on survivability to make sure that your vehicle can still fight even though there are some components being affected. Bogue can be even given fragmentation, lucky shot, and tank buster to make him a unit that can deal with infantry and tanks at the same time, at least if you give him a vehicle with a grenade launcher and a proper main gun. Depending on what you want to go with, you may choose between the 3 of them, but as per usual I will go with Achilles. There's just something about having a tank that can take insane punishment and deal more back just out of pure spite. Now I would like to take a look at the squad leader. Spike might look like the average soldier, that's because he's the average soldier just turned veteran. And with his default ability of giving other squads or pilots 40 AP, so long as they are within 6 styles of Pike. Combine that with This Is My Rifle buff and fortified to turn him into a beast. Of course, for me that with the rocket launchers turns him into a very good infantry leader and a really solid anti-tank option for supporting vehicles. Carda, even though she's arguably the weakest of all the leaders, with love and care, she can be one of the strongest, especially with the supply cost. For her, we're gonna go with Share the Load to get double the special ammo if you have a full squad, Buff to get more HP to said squad, and finally Tank Buster to get 25% armor penetration and armor damage. This with a heavy machine gun will turn her into a low cost Menace, being able to hold down any space with minimal support, and of course her default perk that starts at a minus 15% accuracy and discipline but gives her a 5% for each round, stacking up to a maximum of 8 rounds, adding up to a 25% over her default accuracy. Tech. This big man right here has watched too many Rambo movies because his first perk is Motherfucked that allows him to use all special weapons without deploying. Combine that with Fragmentation and Long Bomb to maximize the amount of enemy squad members he hits and at what range he hits them for. Darby, she's one of the few that can be turned into a proper specialist with her basic perk, letting her incapacitate enemy special weapons. We combine that with cover-ups for more concealment, ambush for more damage while concealed, commando for more accuracy while isolated, and impossible shot for giving her 20% more weapon range. If built correctly, she can become your support sniper or your commando specialist going behind enemy lines and finishing a whole mission by herself. Lastly, Lim. His default perk is gonna be a 30% discount to any promotion that he gets. That being said, he's one of the most aggressive out of all of them, having the option to go for Counter-Strike to return fire while it's not his turn, but only once per turn. Berserker, so he can get 30 AP refund once he ends a squad, Return to Serve to throw back 1 grenade per turn, and of course Blaze of Glory to return 40 AP and remove suppression. All this can turn Lim into a monster, but I haven't really figured out what weapon works the best with him, so I just give him the rocket launcher or something to replace a role that isn't filled anymore. So my early options for a beginner would be Achilles, Karda for that weapon expert that can turn into infantry if need be, Darby for a late game silent operative since she's the only one that can do that on that level specifically. And for last, in my opinion, it has to be Tech, since you can just give him a grenade launcher and turn him into an anti-infantry unit.
Max, what do you want for dinner?
Justice.
Now that you chose a squad you want, it's time to talk about prep time. Just like Batman, with enough time, you will be able to beat everyone. Well, that and a few million credits, but, you know. That being said, let's explore what your soldiers will have access to and how to actually know what they do without reading too much, cause I know some of you, even in my own Discord, you guys don't really like to read the weapon stats, so let me give you a short rundown. All weapons will explain whether they shoot a few times, only 2 or 1 times, or 5 shots, or like the assault rifles, a few short bursts. Now a good chunk of all weapons have 2 fire modes, whether it is a big burst with lesser accuracy with the aim to suppress the enemy that's gotten too close, or just their specified default attack. Lower, you will be able to find the stat sheet for every specified weapon. That's gonna show you trade value, range that's calculated in tiles, hit points damage, armor penetration, suppression, element heat that's gonna be targets, rate of fire that's gonna be shots fired. Now of course those stats can be found on vehicle weapons as well. We're moving on to armors, where here we're gonna be presented with armor value. That basically implies that any weapon that has armor penetration under the number of the armor value cannot penetrate it, so it's gonna attack its durability. Speaking of armor durability, that's a pool of health that's gonna take damage above the health bar until it's damaged enough to allow any other bullets to actually hit the health itself, or another high caliber weapon that has enough armor penetration to go straight for the health. Now of course all armors have 1 accessory slot, but in the future you will get 2 or even 3, or provide concealment like the low profile protective suit, or in the case of this armor it takes vision, concealment and detection away for the durability of a small vehicle. Speaking of vehicles, their stats are a bit different from armors, but they still serve the same purpose. That's similar to armors, only difference is that they have vision range, accuracy modifiers and hit points. Now at accessories, that can range from more ammo for your squads or their special weapons to binoculars that can give you vision and detection. I'll give you some example. Karda here has 2 bags of special ammo, a recon drone and advanced plates for her and her squaddies. Tech gets just some special ammo because of the heavy armor he's wearing, and Darby gets 1 camouflage kit and 2 binoculars. Now one last thing you need to know about prepping is that you should be able to get more squad mates by using this button right here. Of course you can take them away if you really want to, or you don't have enough supplies. Also I would like to recommend, once you have enough OCI components, to get an expanded wayback outreach office to be able to replace the squad mates you lose. Later you may change it, but for now you need that more than you think. Finally, we get to combat. First things first, for the love of God, stop spreading your squads thin. Especially in the beginning. I know you look at the finish, the mission in 12 turns, and you think, oh, my guys can be just like the guy in the trailer with his heavy armor, but you guys forget the part where he tried to block a rocket with his face and failed. Do you see any of them escape that? I don't. So why do you think your little guys can do a solo run at the other corner of the map? So yes, my first piece of advice for you is take it easy, don't spread the squads too thinly, have at least a body system where 2 squads go together, or at least if you have the combo of 3 squads, 1 vehicle, just send the vehicle by itself and leave the squads together. Now let's talk about my second piece of advice. You gotta learn your ABCs. Always be in cover. You have 3 levers of cover and you have been using none of them, have you? Yes, I am calling you out on this one, Mr. Beginner. Always be in cover, remember that. Your wife tells you she wants to do the thing. Well, you better be in cover when you do the thing. Your boss tells you that they want to give you a pay cut. You wouldn't have gotten that pay cut if you were in cover, would you? Your mom calls you and tells you, oh honey, they keep mistreating us at the old people home. Your answer should always be, that's too damn bad, mom. They can't beat your ass if you're in cover. Phew. My third piece of advice is that when in operations mode, please choose your path wisely. I know for some of you it might not matter what mission you pick, but trust me, some missions, especially in the beginning, are harder than others. Also, the rewards are as important as the mission. If you hover your mouse over the mission that you want to pick, it's gonna tell you what you get as a reward. In my opinion, the best rewards are the random items or the random vehicles, but if you don't get any random rewards on the path, I'm choosing whatever is gonna make my life easier in the operation. My last advice is that you already know the game is hard. No matter what other people say, you dictate the pace you play at. Stop letting these weirdos shame you because, oh, well, actually the other game was harder. No. Ignore them, play the game the way you want to, and then ask people that you know that are useful. Ask them, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Never ask these random people. They don't even live in the same world as we do. I hope my early access guide covered all bases. If I was helpful, feel free to watch some of my other Menace videos. Also feel free to let me know what I missed or if you want to see something else in the future. And with that, I would like to give special thanks to the channel members Jordan Ingram, Vinny Van Gogh, Macker's Temple, Estalorico, Cactus Man, Toxicity D-Days, PP4Pux, 501st Admiral Fez, Major Glazer, Titan, Doom Clash, Merc, Kronk.